We live in a world filled with constant noise, from the non-stop notifications on our phones to the clamor of cities and endless conversations. Silence has become an almost forgotten rarity. Modern society seems to have become accustomed to this absence of quiet, as if silence were something to be avoided or even feared. But what if, in reality, silence held a power that could profoundly transform our lives? This video invites you to explore the hidden power of silence, especially when accompanied by trust in God. There is an ancient wisdom that teaches us that in the midst of silence we can hear what truly matters. When we seek calmness and stillness, we create space for a deeper connection with the divine while cultivating inner peace and clarity. The journey through silence challenges us to confront our own thoughts, while also finding refuge in serenity. It is through silence that we learn to discern what comes from God and to trust in His purpose, even when we don't have all the answers. In this video, we will dive into this practice and understand why remaining silent and surrendering our fears and anxieties to God can give us strengths we never imagined we could possess. Silence for many may seem like an uncomfortable void, but in spirituality, it is seen as a channel for profound connection with God. In silence, we are invited to turn off external distractions and refocus our attention inward. It is in this quiet environment, free from the constant noise of the world, that we can hear an inner voice, which many believe to be the whisper of God in our hearts. After all, how can we hear divine guidance amidst so many distractions? In the Bible, we find several passages that highlight the importance of silence in faith. Jesus, in crucial moments of his life, sought to retreat to quiet places where he could pray and reflect. Jesus himself taught us the importance of stepping away from the turmoil to hear the voice of the Father. It is in this place of calm that God speaks to us, not in shouts, but in gentle whispers that require our attention and surrender. When we enter into silence, we are telling God that we are willing to listen, to understand His plans, and to trust in Him. Silence also allows us a deep examination of our own thoughts and emotions. Often, we are so busy with the world around us that we miss the opportunity for introspection. Silence offers a space to analyze who we truly are and where we are on our spiritual journey. This practice of reflection brings us closer to God because it allows us to see our lives with clarity and humility, recognizing our limitations and the need for His presence in every aspect of our being. Remaining silent is therefore an act of faith. It is trusting that God is present, even when we do not hear His words audibly. When we practice silence, we cultivate a more authentic and genuine connection with the divine, creating a sacred space where God's presence can be felt intensely. This chapter teaches us that far from being merely an absence of sound, silence is a presence, the presence of God in our lives. Silence not only brings us closer to God, but also offers a deep inner peace, essential for our mental and spiritual health. In today's fast-paced world, where pressure and stress seem constant, finding moments of silence becomes a true balm for the mind. Many people seek this calm through various practices, but silence, when combined with trust in God, provides unparalleled relief and clarity. By slowing down, we give our minds a chance to recover from the demands of daily life. Studies show that silence can reduce the production of stress hormones like cortisol and improve heart health and the immune system. However, for those seeking a spiritual life, silence goes beyond being a physical remedy. It offers an opportunity for the soul to realign itself, turning toward what is essential and eternal. Many saints and mystics speak of the transformative power of silence in the spiritual journey. Silence is a practice that places us face to face with ourselves and with God, free from the distractions of the external world. In these moments, our worries and anxieties can be seen from a new perspective. Instead of trying to control or understand everything with the human mind, Silence reminds us that there is a higher power and that in many cases the answer will come not from control, but from surrender. Furthermore, silence allows us to develop greater self-awareness. In moments of stillness, we begin to notice thoughts and feelings we usually ignore. This introspection is valuable because it helps us identify areas where we need growth, attitudes to change, and patterns to transform. And as we do this in a state of prayer and trust, we become more receptive to divine guidance. Finally, silence teaches us to live in the present. In our search for answers and problem-solving, it's common to worry excessively about the future or remain stuck in the past. However, silence invites us to be fully aware of the now, where God's presence is most accessible. Being present and at peace in the moment is a transformative experience as we realize that even amidst uncertainties, God is with us, guiding our steps. To reap the benefits of silence and trust in God, it is essential to incorporate this practice into our daily routine. But how to begin? At first, silence may feel uncomfortable, especially for those used to constant stimulation and activity. However, by developing small daily habits, we can cultivate a practice of silence that becomes natural and deeply transformative. One of the first steps in practicing silence is finding a space and time dedicated solely to this. It could be a quiet place at home, a park, or even a church, where you can disconnect from distractions. Start with 5 or 10 minutes and gradually increase the time as you feel more comfortable. During these moments, close your eyes, take deep breaths, and allow your mind to settle. Focus solely on your breathing, letting go of any worries or thoughts that arise. Another effective practice is silent prayer. Instead of reciting words, this prayer involves simply being in God's presence in silence as a way to listen rather than speak. Simply remain silent with an open heart and let God fill the space. Often, we tend to seek immediate answers or solutions, but silent prayer teaches us to surrender our concerns to God, trusting that He is working on our behalf even when we don't see instant results. The practice of surrender is another crucial element of trusting in God. Often we struggle to let go of control over situations and prefer to force our own paths. However, remaining silent reminds us that not everything is within our control, and that this is a good thing. Surrendering means releasing our fears and insecurities, acknowledging that God is sovereign and knows the best path for us. This act of trust is not passive. It is an active exercise of faith that helps us experience peace and security, even in the face of uncertainty. The routine of silence can also include reading Bible passages followed by moments of reflection. Choose a verse that inspires trust and faith, read it slowly, and then reflect in silence on its meaning and how it can be applied to your life. This exercise, known as Lectio Divina or divine reading, is a way of diving deeper into God's Word, allowing Him to speak to the heart without haste. As this practice of silence and trust in God becomes more consistent, you will begin to notice subtle yet powerful changes in your life. Anxiety may give way to a sense of peace. Problems that once felt overwhelming start to be seen with new eyes. You will realize that, although external situations may not always change, your perspective does, and this internal transformation is one of the greatest blessings of silence and trust in God. For many, hearing real stories of people who have experienced transformation through silence and trust in God can be profoundly inspiring. Examples of lives impacted by this practice show that silence is not just a theoretical concept, but a real journey accessible to all. These testimonies reveal how silence and trust in God have the power to heal, strengthen, and provide a new sense of purpose. A common example is that of individuals who have faced emotional or spiritual challenges and, by adopting the practice of silence, found unexpected peace. A middle-aged businessman, for instance, shared how the routine of quieting his mind and surrendering his worries to God changed the way he faced problems at work. Previously anxious and overwhelmed, he learned to trust that God had a purpose for every situation, which brought serenity and renewal to his professional and personal life. Another touching testimony is that of a mother who, amidst a period of family stress, decided to dedicate daily moments to be silent before God. Instead of allowing herself to be consumed by worries, she allowed herself to quiet her mind and trust. Over time, this practice helped transform the dynamics of her home, bringing more patience and understanding to her relationships with her children and spouse. She described silence as a portal to peace, as through it she felt God's presence guiding her steps and calming her anxieties. Finally, there is the testimony of a young man who, facing a crisis of faith, discovered the value of silence and trust. He recounted that, in a moment of loneliness and doubt, he began spending a few minutes in daily silence, simply to be in God's presence. This habit helped him rediscover the meaning of his faith, and he felt a deeper connection to the divine. He describes silence as a bridge that led him back to spirituality, with a stronger faith and an unshakable trust in God. These stories demonstrate that by surrendering to silence and trust, we create space for God to act in our lives in unexpected and transformative ways. These testimonies not only inspire us, but also remind us that, even amidst challenges, silence is a powerful and accessible practice capable of renewing our faith and transforming our perspective on the world. When we adopt silence and trust in God as a continuous practice, the benefits begin to manifest in various areas of our lives. This chapter explores how silence can transform into a lifestyle and generate lasting changes that go far beyond temporary moments of peace. It is a journey that leads to the complete transformation of the self. The first benefit is inner peace. By cultivating regular moments of silence and surrender, we reduce mental noise, constant worries, and overthinking. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by daily demands, we find an internal space of calm and serenity. This inner peace is ultimately a reflection of the trust we develop in God. Even when challenges arise, we know we are not alone and that we can face difficulties without losing our tranquility. Another powerful effect of this practice is the strengthening of faith. Trust in God grows as we learn to surrender our worries and decisions to Him. This process of surrender, repeated regularly, becomes a source of security. Each time we trust and see the results, or even when we don't see them, but feel the peace of having surrendered everything to God, our faith deepens and becomes more resilient. Over time, the act of trusting becomes a natural reflection that provides us with a solid foundation to face any circumstance. Moreover, silence and trust in God help improve our relationships. When we become more peaceful internally, we carry that peace into our interactions with others. Instead of reacting with impatience or judgment, we learn to listen better, to be more empathetic, and to allow others to be themselves as well. Silence teaches us to avoid unnecessary arguments and to value understanding over imposing our will. As a result, our relationships become healthier and more harmonious. Another important benefit is mental clarity. With the practice of silence, we develop a new perspective on our problems and challenges. Instead of being consumed by thoughts and worries, we can observe situations with greater objectivity and discernment. Trust in God gives us the perspective that not everything depends solely on us, and that some solutions arise when we stop trying to control every detail. This process helps us make more conscious decisions aligned with our values and life purpose. Ultimately, continuous silence fosters a sense of purpose and connection with God. Over time, we realize that silence is not just a refuge, but a sacred space where we find direction and meaning. This practice reminds us that we are part of something greater and that our lives gain a deeper purpose when we trust in God. Each day, every decision and each challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen this connection and live according to that divine purpose. The practice of silence and trust in God doesn't have to be distant or complicated. It can become part of daily life, integrated into ordinary moments, bringing calm and spiritual connection amid routine tasks. In this chapter, we'll explore practical ways to cultivate silence and trust in God in any context, making it easier to transform this practice into a transformative habit. One simple and effective way to start is by setting aside a few minutes upon waking and before sleeping for silence and prayer. These moments allow you to begin and end the day in serenity, giving God your concerns and expressions of gratitude. Initially, this can be just a minute or two. The key is that these moments are dedicated to stillness and trust. This helps set a calm tone for the day and provides a peaceful close at night, easing any lingering worries. Throughout the day, there are additional ways to incorporate silence. One example is to practice brief pauses for breathing and silence before beginning a task or when feeling overwhelmed. These few seconds can serve as a reminder to reconnect with God, releasing any anxiety or pressure to Him. This habit introduces a calmer, more intentional rhythm to activities, reducing impulsiveness and stress. Furthermore, moments like a quiet walk or simply contemplating nature are excellent opportunities for silence and trust in God. These moments not only refresh the mind, but also remind us of the greatness of divine creation, strengthening our faith. Taking a few minutes to observe our surroundings, such as the sky, the trees, or the birdsong, allows us to experience the beauty of silence in a simple yet profound way. Another powerful method is practicing inner silence. Even in busy environments or challenging situations, we can learn to maintain an internal posture of calm and trust. In this state of inner silence, we become observers of our thoughts and emotions without immediately reacting to them. Over time, this allows us to respond more wisely and thoughtfully rather than impulsively, cultivating a steady sense of peace. The daily practice of silence and trust in God doesn't require extraordinary time or effort. It simply calls for an intention to slow down and trust. Small, intentional gestures each day can transform our mental and spiritual state, allowing silence to become a continuous source of strength and connection with the divine. We've reached the end of this journey on the transformative power of silence and trust in God. Throughout this video, we've explored how silence can open doors to a fuller, more connected and peaceful life, and how trusting in God is a sustaining force in every moment, regardless of the challenges we face. At this point, the invitation is clear. Each of you is encouraged to try this practice in your own life. No matter how chaotic the world around us may seem, there is always an inner space we can cultivate to find peace and purpose. This profound silence is not an empty one. It is filled with God's presence, calming our fears, reducing anxiety, and giving us clearer direction. If this video helped you in any way, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, as we'll continue bringing content like this. Thank you so much. Starting the practice of silence may seem challenging at first, especially in a life filled with commitments. But remember, it's a journey, and every small step makes a difference. Over time, peace becomes more present, and your trust in God becomes stronger. So when challenges arise, you'll be prepared, knowing that you don't have to face everything on your own. You can rest and trust in the divine. Finally, remember that silence is a gift, an opportunity to be with God and to find yourself. As you cultivate this practice, you will discover a hidden power that will transform the way you live, feel, and understand the world. May this journey be filled with blessings, and may each moment of silence deepen your faith and trust even more.